Welcome back to the Daily Thunder podcast. I'm John Napier, publisher of Daily Thunder, and I'll be your host today. Alongside me is Daily Thunder beat writer Brandon Rabar. Brandon, how are you this 2-0 series lead day?
I am doing well. It has been fun to be in the Paycom Center and witness Loud City in peak form and to watch this team. And now I'm excited to watch these two games in Memphis.
On the show today, we will talk about these last two games as much as you can talk about two blowout victories for the Thunder, including a record-setting Game 1 performance. And that is where we will start with the Thunder's 51-point win, which set an NBA record for the largest margin of victory in a Game 1 in NBA history. And frankly, I came away disappointed because I wanted that record for the largest margin of victory in any playoff game.
Yeah, I did too. They were up 56, and I thought it could happen. And then Luke Kennard hit a three, and they went on a little run, to get it down to 51. I was pretty bummed out, so we had to settle for only the fifth biggest margin of victory in a playoff game of all time. But consolation prize, the biggest margin of victory in a Game 1 of all time, so that's something.
Yeah, and it was really complete dominance in that game. Maybe a little early. It was, the Thunder were getting their legs back underneath them, but the Grizzlies couldn't score, and that really was the case for the remainder of the game. The Grizzlies could not score, but maybe what stood out to me in this 51-point victory, and this is going to be probably an anecdote in trivia in 5-10 years from now. The leading scorer for the Thunder in Game 1 in a 131-point night was Aaron Wiggins.
Yeah.
Not Shai, not Chet, not J-Dub, but Aaron Wiggins.
Yeah. It was so funny. It was such a weird game because they dominated by so much, and Wiggins kind of got this kind of strange amount of minutes where he actually played while the game was competitive. But then he also got to play when the game was out of hand too. Like the big three and the Hartenstein and Caruso and those guys, they played while it's competitive. And then, other guys played when it was out of hand. And Wiggins just threaded the needle where he got to play both, and he played really, really well.
Well, it was not Shai's best performance. And I'm pretty sure if you ask Memphis fans going into this game, if they were going to hold Shai to 4-13 shooting, 1 of 7 from 3, and just 15 total points, the lowest scoring output for him this season, they would think they were probably in this game.
Yeah, I would think so. That's what's so bad for the Grizzlies and for Grizzlies fans. Shai has struggled not only in Game 1, we'll get to Game 2, but, he hasn't been himself. He hasn't, played to his standards. And you would think if you're going to steal one in OKC, it would be when Shai has his lowest scoring game out of 83 games. Shai scores his lowest amount, and you still lose by 51. Like, everything about that is bad for the Grizzlies. Like, if they get beat, blown out in both these games, and Shai hasn't been Shai yet, I mean, come on.
Well, and after that Game 1, and you can check the receipts because I said this in some different group chats recounting the game, is I just don't see how Memphis can reliably score when the Thunder's defense is dialed in the way it's been dialed in this postseason so far, especially in that Game 1. And that came true in Game 2 where Memphis again struggled to score offensively. But, I mean, it was an historic performance for the Thunder in Game 1. And I think the offensive rating for the Grizzlies was like 75 or something. It's just an epic beatdown. And we know now that the series is 2-0, but even after Game 1, do you think there's any chance the Grizzlies can come back and make this a competitive series?
I mean, it's so hard to see a map where the Grizzlies end up winning a game. Look, they could steal a game. I predicted the Thunder in 5, and at this point, that looks like it could be wrong. It looks like the Thunder could just sweep this. The Grizzlies aren't going to win this series. That's just out of, that's out of contention. Get that out of your heads, Grizzlies. Not going to happen. But can they win a game? There is, a little bit of drama left. I don't know. Things would just have to go so right for the Grizzlies to win a game. Like, the problem for the Grizzlies is if you look at every single matchup, the Thunder are just better. Shai's better than Ja when you look at superstars. Jada is better than Bane. Chet, I would say, is better than Jaren Jackson, has certainly played better than Jaren Jackson. Isaiah Hartenstein is better than Edey. Lou Dort is better than Scottie Pippen Jr. The Thunder's bench and depth far better than the Grizzlies' bench and depth. Coaching, big advantage to the Thunder. And so the one thing that you could say, okay, if you're Grizzlies fans, if the Grizzlies just out hustle, out fight, out energy the Thunder, maybe we can steal a game at home in Memphis with a wild crowd. The problem is, even though the Thunder are the 68-win team and the Grizzlies should be the desperate team, the underdog, the Thunder are still out fighting and out hustling the Grizzlies.
Yeah, and I think that's been a big difference too, because the defense can't be as good as it was in game one if the Thunder aren't just dialed in and really out hustling, diving on every loose ball. And you saw that, as Isaiah Joe was on the floor multiple times, that aggression defensively was as good as I've seen it this season.
Yeah, I agree. And that was the thing. It's guys across the board. Obviously, the Thunder defense has been elite and historic this year. And I wondered, once we get to the playoffs and everybody kind of steps up their game, because the intensity goes up in the playoffs. And the question was okay, the Thunder are already playing at 100%. What happens when the teams in the playoffs match them? Will that advantage with the defense still be there? Well, it turns out we thought that the Thunder were playing at 100% maximum level, but they can even turn it up a notch and, kind of like Spinal Tap, this thing goes to 11. They can go kind of off the charts, and that's how they've played. And it's been everybody. It's not just the standouts like Dort and Caruso and Chet and Dub, like you said, Isaiah Joe, hustling for every single rebound, the offensive boards, just every single player that gets out there for the Thunder is bought in and is playing hard.
Well, let's move on to game two, where you saw more of the same, especially in that first quarter. It looked like the Thunder were just going to do exactly what they did to the Grizzlies for all four quarters in game one. The Grizzlies struggled to score, and the Thunder had a 15-point lead at the end of the first quarter. But in that second quarter, the Grizzlies managed to put up 35 points to the Thunder's 38. What do you think was different in that second quarter where the Grizzlies were actually able to score?
I got to be honest. I think it was just a deal where for a brief moment, the Thunder, went from 100% to 90%, and the Grizzlies hit some shots. It also helped that they didn't turn the ball over as much. The Thunder didn't turn it over as much, so they were able to get some shots off. And the Thunder, I think they were 0 for 6 or something like that from 3. So the Thunder weren't hitting anything. So I think it was just kind of a combination of those things. The Thunder, their offense wasn't hitting. So, the Grizzlies got more opportunities because they weren't, getting turned over. And as soon as it got close, the Thunder turned it on again, obviously. And that's what happened. There was a couple of times where the Grizzlies showed a little bit of life, and the Thunder just punched back. And I thought it was pretty telling that even though, Shai has struggled so far in this series, the one time where he really had his best stretch, I thought, was when the Grizzlies kind of made it the closest that they made it.
Yeah, and you got a little ahead of me there, because that's, I think, exactly what I was going to bring up next, is that the Grizzlies did manage to cut the double-digit lead for the Thunder, because the Thunder took an 18-point lead in the half. They cut that lead to 8 in the third quarter. And you thought, well, maybe this is going to be a competitive game. And then the Thunder just turns it on. Shai was Shai, and the Grizzlies couldn't keep up.
Yeah, they couldn't. And that's the thing. When these teams are playing, at the level that they can play at, the Grizzlies can play the perfect game, and maybe they beat the Thunder. The Thunder have got to not play to the best of their ability. Grizzlies got to play to the best of their ability, and everything kind of go right. The Thunder are just much better. There's a reason why the Thunder now have beaten them 11 times in a row. There's a reason why, even though the Grizzlies are talented, between Ja, Triple J, and Desmond Bane, they have some talent. They just don't have depth. They don't have much punch outside of those 3. They were the number 2 or number 3 seed for half of the season, but they also haven't beaten a good team since I think it's February or something like that. And there's a reason that these two teams are really just in different classes. And that's the reward the Thunder get for being the number 1 seed.
Yeah. One other, J-Dub has been playing really, really well. So I want to talk about J-Dub. Because he has filled in a little bit of the slack where Shai has struggled a little bit more. Are we getting playoff J-Dub?
Yeah, I think so. And what's so nice about that, that was, for some people, that was the big question mark going into the postseason was like, okay, Shai's going to be the MVP. The defense is going to translate, but the secondary score, whether it be J-Dub or Chet, like, how's that going to look? Because, there were question marks after last postseason. It's so funny because Shai has been not himself, and it's Dub and Chet who have been phenomenal. Dub has looked like the all-star that he was all season long. Like, to me, he's not playing any different. He just looks like regular season Dub, who is an all-star. Like, this is how he plays, but it's carrying over so far to the postseason. And that bodes so well for the Thunder that Dub and Chet are playing so well, while Shai, is kind of working through it right now. Shai's going to be fine, by the way. I don't know if that's going to be one of the talking points, but I have zero concern whatsoever for Shai. Like, the defense that the Grizzlies are throwing out there, schemes, Scottie Pippen Jr., it's not that. Shai's just missing some shots he normally makes. He's going to be fine. But I think you're right. The big news here is Dub and Chet playing so well.
Yeah, well, I specifically brought up J-Dub, and then I'm going to talk about Chet. I mean, he is rounding fully into form. It seems like he's, back into the basketball shape that he was prior to when he went out with his injury. And, one thing I wanted to mention in game 2, the Grizzlies as a team had 5 total blocks. Chet Holmgren alone had 5 blocks in that game.
Yeah, Chet was dominant. Chet, I saw on Twitter, I think it was StatMuse, tweeted out he's the first sophomore since Tim Duncan to have 20, 11, and 5 in a playoff game. And here's the crazy thing. If you're the Grizzlies, you looked at the matchups, like I said earlier, and maybe you thought that's one matchup where you might have the advantage. I didn't think so. I think that Chet is the better player than Jaren Jackson Jr. I know that may sound crazy because Jaren Jackson Jr. is probably going to make All-NBA, third team. He's a defensive player of the year. But Chet so far, just in that game, had 11 rebounds and 5 blocks. In total, through 2 games, Jaren Jackson Jr. has 9 rebounds and 0 blocks. Chet is so far outperforming him. And if this is the Chet that they get throughout the playoffs, that is a great sign for the Thunder because he is a difference maker. He's hitting his threes. He played all 82 last year. And I think maybe, he had some winded, tired legs, and he didn't quite get the arc on the threes that he did in the regular season. So far, he's shooting really, really well in the postseason. He has fresher legs going into it this time.
Well, I'm going to ask you to make a very challenging argument as to why Memphis can take game 3 up next. But before we get there, you look at game 2, and a lot of things went right for the Grizzlies, right? Jaren Jackson Jr. had 26 points. He shot the ball well. Ja Morant had one of his best games against the Thunder with 23 points and 6 assists. You had Desmond Bane, who scored 19. Scottie Pippen Jr. was double figures with 13. They did a lot of things right, and they still lost by double digits. Shai obviously had a pretty inefficient game as well. So those things went right for the Grizzlies, and they still lost by 19. So how can the Grizzlies win game 3?
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. If I had to say, it would have to be some sort of combination. For some crazy fluke reason, Shai struggles again, and the shooting from the Thunder role players doesn't translate on the road, and the Grizzlies kind of, magnet ball. They just can't miss. And like Desmond Bane just lights it up. Jaren Jackson Jr. hits a bunch and Ja goes off. The home crowd gives them some energy. It would take like that kind of recipe for the Grizzlies to steal one. I think it could happen. It could happen. I don't think it's going to happen. The Thunder are just so much better, but this is basketball. Any given night, one team can get hot, one team can miss. It's just that the talent level is so different. The coaching level, and the role players, it would take a lot of things going the perfect storm for the Grizzlies to win a game. But yeah, I would say magnet ball and just a terrible off-shooting night for the Thunder.
Okay, well, if you were to tell the Grizzlies, if you were coaching the Grizzlies, what is one thing that they should focus on in game 3?
They got to be better on the boards. Like with their size, they are being out-rebounded by the Thunder. Now, the Thunder have, the double bigs, I think, is working great in this matchup. But some of rebounding is just fight and hustle and want to. Like, that sounds easy. The Thunder make it look easy because they're all bought in. but you got to use the energy of your home crowd and buy in and fight. Like rebounding's one thing that you can kind of like if you have a 7'4" Zach Edey and you have Jaren Jackson, you have Santi Aldama, you have some size. You got to fight for those boards though. Like whether that's on the offensive side, like we've seen with the Thunder getting all those second chance points, or the defense rebounds to limit the Thunder's second chance points. So because that's something you can control. Like if I'm the head coach of the Grizzlies, I can't just say get more talented than the Thunder overnight. So I'm trying to look at something they can control, and to me, it's like just the fight, and that rebounding is one thing that you can kind of control a little bit.
Yeah, and I would add, I think one big thing the Grizzlies have to do is they have to stop turning the ball over so many times. In game one, they had 24 turnovers that led to 24 points for the Thunder. In game two, they had 15 turnovers that led to 25 points for the Thunder. And I mean, that's partly the Thunder's defense and the way that they're just going to force those turnovers. I'm not sure how you can get it down to the level that the Thunder turned the ball over, because they had 7 turnovers for 6 points for the Grizzlies. But the Grizzlies have to get better at protecting the ball. And the other thing is, I think you need your bigs to step up in a much larger way. That Zach Edey's going to have to be the X factor in this series, and he's not there yet. But if you could play them more inside out, that might slow the defense, because right now the Thunder are just killing the Grizzlies on the perimeter.
Yeah, they are. And that's the thing that makes the Thunder so tough, is they can play any style. Like, they have counters to your counters. Like if you're thinking like, oh, we're going to use Zach Edey's size to give us an advantage here, the Thunder can, they just have so many counters to because Chet is kind of a cheat code. Having a 7-1 guy that can play on the perimeter, whether that's, offensively like shoot or guard on the perimeter. You got Hartenstein. He's a problem. Like the Zach Edey piece should, and that's like he had 7 rebounds, he's got to get more boards. You're 7-4. Like that's the one thing you should be able to do. And I don't know, like I agree. He's just not there yet. He's got some potential, but in this matchup in particular, they just don't have a lot of options. Like we saw Zach Edey be a difference maker against the Warriors in that playing game. We saw him be a difference maker against the Mavs in that playing game, but against the Thunder, they cause so many issues for teams.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not sure how much longer we can just keep belaboring the point that the Thunder are just better. They're just better than the Grizzlies. So, and I guess I'll get a little bit ahead of ourselves. And so we've seen some of the games from the Clippers Nuggets matchup. How do you think that series is progressing? The way you expected?
Yeah, I had thought that this was a coin flip series going into it. I favored the Clippers just slightly. I had them coming out of it in 6, and I would stick with that through 2 games. Really, the Clippers could be up 2-0. I guess you could say the Nuggets could be up 2-0. They were both so close, but I think the Clippers kind of let that first game go, and they kind of went and took the second game. The Clippers are the better overall team, I think. They're a better defensive team, and if Kawhi is healthy and playing like this, man, he's so good. And they've got, somebody in Zubac who can at least slow down Jokic. I think that, Russell Westbrook, shout out by the way, he's played really, really well in these 2 games. They just don't have a lot of depth. The thing with the Clippers, though, they have so many one-way players, but it's working against the Nuggets. But in a potential matchup with the Thunder, I think the Thunder can exploit how many one-way players they have. Like they have 3 guys in Harden and Powell and somebody else, and I cannot think of who it is right now, who are just like offensive guys. They have 3 guys in Chris Dunn and Derek Jones Jr. I cannot think of the roster right now. It's so late while we're recording this, but they've got some one-way guys. And when you have one-way players against a team like the Thunder, who are just packed with 2-way guys, you can find advantages. And I expect to see that happen. I'm getting ahead of myself. I just think the Clippers are going to win. So in my mind, I'm going to a Clippers-Thunder matchup and kind of trying to see how that's going to play out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, watching the first 2 games, it does seem very clear the Clippers are the better team, but the Nuggets have just made a few more winning plays to keep game 1 competitive long enough for the Nuggets to come back and win that one, because early it looked like the Clippers could run away with that one. But certainly the Clippers have more talent, and you have Kawhi Leonard, who's maybe playing his best basketball of the season. He looks fully healthy. And I'd say there would be a little bit of competitive series if the Thunder matched up against the Clippers. I'd feel actually much better against the matchup of the Nuggets. I think the Thunder match up with the Nuggets way better on paper.
Yeah, it's so tough because you look at the Nuggets and it's like, okay, well, they got Jokic. Obviously, he's an issue, but the Thunder have played well against the Nuggets kind of over the last couple of years. And I still think, honestly, that the Nuggets, like other guys, have been kind of, especially in this MVP race, they've been kind of underrated a little bit, like Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Christian Brown, and Russ. The problem is after those six guys, it really does drop off when you get to like Peyton Watson and Jalen Pickett and those guys. They just don't have the depth, and the Clippers have the better depth. And I was thinking of Ben Simmons earlier and Bogdanovich. So the Clippers are deeper, even though they have one-way guys. I just kind of feel like they're the better overall team, but then the Nuggets have the better overall player in Jokic. Although if Kawhi continues to be healthy and play like this, man, they're an issue. The thing is, though, the Thunder are pretty well equipped to handle the Clippers more than most teams because you have, Lou Dort and Alex Caruso and Cason Wallace and Jalen Williams that you can throw at Kawhi and Norman Powell and James Harden.
Yeah. Any other playoff matchups that have really piqued your interest or caught your eye?
The Lakers Wolves, I'm not interested in the East at all. And it's not just because of the Thunder in the West. It's just like it feels like it's a given. It's going to be the Celtics and the Cavs. I don't see anybody else out of the East coming out of it. The Lakers Wolves matchup, I think, is really fascinating because I think whoever wins that series will be the Thunder's potential Western Conference Finals opponent. I don't think, I think the Rockets, Warriors, all due respect, especially with Butler and Steph Curry. Butler just got hurt tonight, though. He hurt his tailbone. We'll see how that works out. If he's out, that's big trouble for the Warriors. But I think that whoever comes out of Lakers Wolves makes it to the Western Conference Finals. So I'm really fascinated by that matchup. And it's kind of the same deal. I think the Wolves have the better overall team. They have more size. They have more defense. They have more depth. But the Lakers have Luka, LeBron, and then you got to show out to Austin Reeves as well. He's been playing so well. They just have so much upside with that offense, although they do have some serious issues with size and depth and defense.
Well, no need to belabor the point. If you came on and listened to this podcast to hear about any potential issues the Thunder may be having with the Grizzlies, you're not going to hear it because they are dominating the Grizzlies so far this series. But next week, we'll revisit this series. And if we're still talking about Thunder Grizzlies matchup, it may end up being a more competitive series than it looks like today, but for now, it looks like the Thunder are going to run away with this one and could potentially take a sweep of the Grizzlies. So that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Thunder podcast. I'm John Napier, host of the podcast, and he's Brandon Ribard, Daily Thunder beat writer. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe to the Daily Thunder podcast on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you like what you hear, do us a favor and leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcast, and we'll be back in your feed soon.